interest rates can come down. That is the entire program, and I'm so optimistic that this can be achieved.
The last monetary policy, which is just a few days ago, a number of people think you and your team had a very good opportunity to cut interest rates, perhaps do something symbolic, or perhaps open the back door of the cash reserve ratio and let some money out into the system. But you didn't do any of that. Why?
Well, you know, like I said, these are, in this case, 9 people sitting in a room, analyzing various data that was presented by the Monetary Policy Department, and based on that, come up with their own conclusions as to what they think should be done. Like I said earlier, we're still seeing inflation at 15.9%. And in any case, I do expect that there will be dissenting views by different analysts. But the point is that this is a case where all but one members of the Monetary Policy Committee took a direction, because there's still a feeling that we are currently in a period where we are building reserve.
What's your personal feeling, Mr. Emefiele?
About my personal feeling?
Yes.
I expressed my personal feeling like others, that yes, we should still wait, and that I am very optimistic that very soon, my vote is just one, and I'm saying very soon
and how did you
we'll begin to ease. Of course, I voted to maintain the status quo.
This economy needs money and needs liquidity very urgently. So how soon do you think you're going to open the doors or the windows, as it were, to let some fresh air come into the system?
Let me tell you this, Wilson. There is air, but you need to control it. There is an optimal level of liquid that is required to run a particular economy, particularly even in this case, given the kind of macroeconomic variables that we see in play right now, right? Luckily, we've been able to stabilize the exchange rate at the level that it is right now. And in any case, when we talked about exchange rate, that people should not use the black market as basis to determine the value of the naira, it has become clear now that it's a very shallow market. And once we took that decision, it collapsed like a pack of cards. So exchange rate stability we've achieved. We are now in a regime where we are building reserve. Build reserve to a level where we think we built enough buffer to be able to withstand any shock should it happen again. 2 is that we're still looking at inflation. We're seeing inflation at 15.9%, right? And at a rate that is still even higher than monetary policy rate is what is called negative real interest rate. And that there is a need for us to see inflation at a level that is low, and that's why we're trying to say if inflation can be at a level of about 12 or slightly below, then it's easy for monetary policy to begin to say, we want to ease. Okay? I want you to know this, and Nigerians to know this. Like I said, 2 days after I took office, I made a pledge that I want to see to it that interest rate came even lower than the level it was in 2014. Unfortunately, it had to go up because of the macroeconomic indices that we find confronting us. But I'm pretty much optimistic that very, very soon, and I mean very soon, I can't put my finger on time, with the kind of numbers and the kind of forecast that we see, I believe that this Monetary Policy Committee will begin to ease.
One of your comments that you read out a few days ago in the communique was that you're looking at the central bank and the U.S. Fed will raise interest rates. The ECB, the European Central Bank, will be doing some quantitative easing and whatever it is. Do you think there could be some booby traps there waiting for the MPC in 2018 if you don't lower interest rates very quickly?
No, I would rather even expect that the reverse should be the case, because when ECB is taking money out, right? I mean, when ECB or the US increase interest rates, it means what they're trying to do is they're trying to pull money back into their economy. And what that means is that there will be an exit of funds from emerging markets.
Like Nigeria, which is a frontier market?
Emerging markets and frontier markets. And indeed, third quarter last year, we saw close to about $40 billion exiting from the frontier markets and the emerging markets. And I'm saying that we need to prepare for that. And preparing for that also meant that we needed to build our reserve buffers strong enough, right? But with the relatively high yield offered by the Nigerian market, and also because if you are thinking of a safe haven in a frontier or emerging market where you can invest your money, Nigeria remains one. Indeed, even in Africa where you can invest your money I do not expect that there will be a massive outflow of funds, but rather we may even see to it that more flows come into Nigeria. That's our expectation. But what is important is that we still must prepare for just in case what you do not expect happens as a result of the decisions of the US Fed as well as the ECB. And that is why we are preparing at this time.
The conversation with Godwin Emefiele, a one-to-one interview, continues tomorrow here on Business Morning. We have got him to talk about the state of the banking sector. He was a commercial bank executive himself, so a number of people believe he's been very soft treating the banks with kid gloves. So I got some hard questions for him. If Godwin Emefiele is very soft and he doesn't have what it takes to hit the banks very hard. We'll listen to that tomorrow. Let's get back to what's in the news this morning as we start a brand new Business Week. All eyes on the National Assembly to start deliberations over the 2018 draft document presented to the joint houses about 3 weeks ago by the president in the first week of November. And now they've got to sit down and discuss this before they go on recess. President Buhari's administration is walking a very tightrope to meet the January 1st, 2018 deadline to start a new budget with a new calendar. We'll see whether that happens in the next 30 days. Meantime, the Udoma's Ministry on Budget and National Planning heading to Minna, the Niger State capital, for a very crunchy three-day program that will discuss the state of the Economic Recovery Growth Plan called the ERGP. That conference will look at the implementation and the roadmap for this very midterm 2017 to 2020 economic blueprint. And the Ministry of Finance, in bed with the Federal Inland Revenue Service and the Joint Tax Board, says the government will review the tax profiles of all companies that have done major business and received major payments from the Nigerian government in the last 5 years to see if they comply with the new tax amnesty, which is called the VAIDS, the Voluntary Asset Declaration Program. Meantime, the Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, says about 1,710 new tax officers have been sent out across the 33 states to begin implementation and sensitization of the tax amnesty, which is due to expire on the 31st of March 2018. We'll be right back after the break, and we've got to discuss how to get your bearing rights via new merger and acquisition.